Did a U.S. senator just accuse Donald Trump of dragging America into an unauthorized war with no plan, no timeline, and no end in sight? This is getting dangerous.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. Director Ratcliffe, you just described the specific campaign that the president is engaged in, the country's engaged in, with respect to Iran. I think the campaign has been one, in my view, without a specific rationale for the American people. 19 days into President Trump's unauthorized war with Iran, and by which I mean there has been no congressional approval, at least 13 American service members are dead and many others are injured. Yet President Trump has offered no credible justification for an imminent threat, no clear goals, no strategy or timeline. His message keeps changing, I think, in really damaging ways. President Trump said Iran's nuclear facilities had been, quote, totally obliterated in June 2025. But when he launched this latest war, he said we need to eliminate the imminent nuclear threat of those totally obliterated nuclear facilities. President Trump has threatened to seize Iranian oil and demanded our allies reopen the Strait of Hormuz. He said that I'm demanding that these countries come in and protect their own territory because it's their territory. It's the place from which they get their energy. By the way, he wasn't just asking for our allies to protect or to bail them out in the Straits of Hormuz. He was asking China to bail them out in the Straits of Hormuz. And then he said maybe we shouldn't even be here at all because we don't need it. We have a lot of oil. And he said, we do not need the help of anyone. President Trump has declared we've won the war. We won it in the first hour. But then he said, we're not leaving until the job is finished. He said that there is practically nothing left to bomb, but then threatened to bomb Iran again, quote, just for fun. I think words that probably have never come out of a military leader in the history of the United States of America. It shouldn't come out of the mouth of a civilian leader. President Trump said he will end the war when I feel it in my bones. And any time I want to end it, it will end. But, Director, the war is not ending. It is escalating with thousands of U.S. Marines reportedly sailing toward Iran on an unclear mission, a mission that's become less clear over days, not more clear. Our airstrikes wiped out Iran's missiles and supreme leader. Nobody here, and certainly me, is shedding a tear for him. But the Iranian people now live under martial law. And by the way, no surprise to our intelligence agencies that that's the case. And the first of a puppet leader who's chosen by the IRGC. No surprise that to anybody on the Intelligence Committee. Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz and is holding the global economy hostage. No surprise to anybody who knows anything about U.S. intelligence. Launching drones at our embassies and military bases. No surprise. The president is surprised. Nobody who has looked at our intelligence is surprised. Iran's nuclear program is damaged, to be sure, but it still has a uranium stockpile. We heard today from the DNI at the very beginning of this conversation that the regime is in place and they are going to rebuild their military capabilities, the ones that we are destroying right now. The question I think is raised, Director, about your specific engagement is whether it will become a perpetual war because what Iran will do is exactly what they have always done, and which the DNI is saying they will do again. In its briefings to the committee, the Intelligence Committee has been clear-eyed about what would happen in the Straits of Hormuz, has been clear-eyed about whether or not our military bases, our embassies, and our personnel in the region would be placed at risk and in harm's way, even though the administration did very little to protect them. I know, Director Ratcliffe, that you warned President Trump that if Israel assassinated the supreme leader, the IRGC would replace him with potentially a harder line puppet. In fact, I think what was clear is that the likelihood was that it would be a hard line puppet. Do you disagree with that characterization of the intelligence?
To that specific question, what we knew was, first of all, I guess I have to address up front, so much of what you related in there, the difference between political rhetoric versus...
Not political rhetoric. I'm quoting the President of the United States.
Political rhetoric versus military...
Director, I'll
the difference between that and military and intelligence execution. But here's the most important thing. You mischaracterize this as saying there aren't clearly defined goals. The defined goals are very clear. Degrade and destroy the missile inventory and drone inventory, delay and degrade the military industrial base and factories that produce that, degrade and destroy the IRGC Navy that could control the Strait. These are all defined goals that were set out specifically. The premise of the question is that...
My time back, Mr. Chairman, I can't get a word in edgewise. He won't answer the question, and then he's taking a minute of my time.
You're both big boys. You can handle it yourself.
Okay, well, Director, I agree that you are, and I appreciate what you're saying. And I'm not... My point is not what your characterization of the war is. My point is what the characterization, the commander-in-chief. I'm not asking you anymore, Mr. Director. I'm sorry because I'm out of time because of how you use the time. The complete lack of clarity should matter to everybody. President Trump, most of all, he is the person that got elected on the criticism that we had fought 2 wars in the Middle East that had lasted for 20 years. And now we're hearing the testimony is to get their ballistic missiles, to not even get to the nuclear stuff, we're going to have to be in a perpetual war with Iran. And I don't think that's where the American people are on this. This is a serious threat. This is a serious threat to us and to Israel. The question is how to handle it. And President Trump said, we are not the policemen of the world. He ran on that. And now he's turned us into the world's policeman, into its jury, into its judge, into its executioner. And just because we have the most advanced military in the world, it doesn't mean that we should be in a perpetual war all around the world. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Rounds.
This wasn't just another heated hearing. This was a direct warning. A U.S. senator stood up and essentially said, America may be heading into a perpetual war without Congress ever approving it. Let that sink in. According to the criticism, Donald Trump launched military action against Iran without clear authorization, without a defined strategy, and without telling the American people what the actual endgame is. And the contradictions? They're hard to ignore. On one hand, Trump claims Iran's nuclear capabilities were totally obliterated. On the other hand, he says the war must continue to eliminate the same threat. So which is it? Finished or just beginning? Meanwhile, the situation is escalating. U.S. troops deployed, global oil routes threatened at the Strait of Hormuz, Iran retaliating with drones and military pressure. And here's the deeper issue. This isn't just about foreign policy, it's about accountability. Because in a democracy, wars aren't supposed to start based on one person's instinct or feeling it in their bones. They require clear justification, congressional oversight, and a defined objective. Without that, history tells us exactly what happens. We've seen this before, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, conflicts that started with urgency but dragged on for decades. And now the fear being raised is simple. Are we watching the beginning of another endless war? Or worse, a new normal where presidents can wage war without checks and balances? If you want real breakdowns like this, no spin, just facts, subscribe now, because the stakes are only getting higher.